This is the story of a boy who inherits the ability to travel in time, but he takes advantage of this ability to revisit the past and make choices that change his life in unexpected ways. At the beginning of the story, we see a 17-year-old boy named Tim who lives with his family in a beautiful house by the seashore in England. Tim's family is a cheerful bunch. His father, James, is a retired professor. His mother, Mary, manages the house with love. His quirky uncle, Desmond, is always lost in his thoughts. And his sister, Catherine, lovingly called Kit Kat by everyone, is the life of the house. Tim's family lives a simple yet joyful life. They enjoy going to the beach, watching movies every Friday, and celebrating New Year's Eve parties at home. However, Tim has always found these parties dull because he doesn't know how to mix with people, making him feel out of place. One day, when Tim turns 21, his father calls him for a serious conversation. His father reveals a family secret that has been passed down to all the men in their family, the ability to travel back in time. At first, Tim finds this hard to believe. James explains that by going to a dark, quiet place, closing his fists, and thinking about a specific past moment, Tim can travel to that exact time and place. Tim laughs it off, thinking it's a joke, but decides to test it. Tim steps into a cupboard, closes his fists, and imagines the New Year's Eve party from earlier. In the blink of an eye, he finds himself back at the party, wearing different clothes. He's shocked, but excited. This time, he decides to enjoy the party fully, doing everything he missed earlier. Afterward, he returns to the cupboard, repeats the process, and finds himself back in his present time. Tim rushes to tell his father, who confirms that even his mother doesn't know about this secret. James warns Tim to use this ability wisely, only to improve his life and find happiness, not for fame or selfish reasons. He explains that his own father and uncle misused this gift and ended up lonely and unhappy. He advises Tim to use time travel to fill his life with love and joy. With this new ability, Tim decides to find love. His chance comes when Kit Kat's beautiful friend, Charlotte, visits their home for a month during the summer. Tim is instantly smitten with her. One sunny day, while Charlotte and Kit Kat are relaxing outside, Charlotte asks Tim to help apply sunscreen. Tim eagerly agrees but ends up spilling too much sunscreen and embarrassing himself. He quickly runs back inside, travels back in time, and returns to the same moment. This time, he approaches confidently and applies the sunscreen like a true gentleman, making a great impression. The summer passes joyfully as Tim and his friends enjoy their vacation. Tim becomes completely lost in his feelings for Charlotte, even forgetting about his time travel ability. As the end of summer approaches, Charlotte prepares to return home. Tim struggles to confess his feelings, but eventually musters up the courage to speak to her late at night. However, Charlotte gently tells him that he is too late. He should have shared his feelings earlier so they could have spent their summer together differently. Hearing this, Tim travels back 1 month into the past and confesses his love to Charlotte. However, Charlotte responds by saying he should tell her this on her last night at the house so they could get to know each other better. At that moment, Tim realizes that Charlotte never liked him in the way he hoped, and that time travel cannot change someone's feelings. Accepting this, he decides to move on from his first love, and Charlotte leaves. Tim, determined to become a lawyer, prepares to leave for London the next day. Before he departs, his uncle gives him some money and advises him to spend it wisely. With this, Tim bids farewell to his family and moves to London to pursue his legal training. In London, he stays at the home of his father's old friend, Uncle Harry, who is a playwright known for his short temper. Despite Harry's gruff demeanor, he welcomes Tim and shows him a small room to stay in. The next day, Tim starts his lawyer training and meets his colleague Rory. Time passes, and after 6 months of training, Tim still longs for a girlfriend. One evening, he goes to a restaurant with his friend Jay, where a blind dating game is being played. In the dark, Tim meets Mary, and the two quickly hit it off. When the lights come on, they see each other for the first time, and sparks fly. Mary gives Tim her number, and he leaves the restaurant overjoyed. However, upon returning home, Tim finds Harry upset because the opening night of his new play had gone poorly, due to an actor forgetting his lines. Seeing Harry's disappointment, Tim decides to travel back in time to help. Tim returns to the play's opening night and tries to coach the actor who forgot his lines. However, he soon realizes he got the wrong person. Undeterred, Tim travels back again and ensures the correct actor remembers his lines. This time, the play becomes a resounding success, and Harry is overjoyed. But there's a problem. Because Tim altered that evening's events, his meeting with Mary never happened. When he tries calling her, her number is missing from his phone. Heartbroken, Tim goes back to the restaurant, hoping to find her, but learns from the staff that he never met her that night due to his time travel detour. Determined to reconnect, Tim remembers Mary mentioning her admiration for a particular model. Following this lead, he attends an exhibition where he finally spots her. He approaches her, but Mary doesn't recognize him. Undeterred, Tim strikes up a conversation, and they spend some time together. However, Tim learns that Mary now has a boyfriend named Rupert, whom she met at a party. Not willing to give up, Tim travels back in time to the night of the party where Mary met Rupert. Arriving before Rupert, Tim finds Mary alone and strikes up a conversation with her. The two leave the party together and spend quality time, during which Mary begins to develop feelings for Tim. As their connection grows, Mary invites Tim to her home. They become closer, sharing an intimate moment. However, Tim feels self-conscious about their first time together, thinking he could have done better. Using his time travel ability, he redoes the moment, ensuring everything is perfect. This time, Mary is left thoroughly satisfied. Mary praises his baby corn, and after that night, their bond grows deeper. Tim and Mary fall in love and enter a relationship. They start living together and share many beautiful moments. After some time, Mary's parents come to visit them. However, Mary hadn't yet informed her parents that she and Tim were living together in the same house. They only knew Tim as her boyfriend. Despite the initial surprise, Mary's parents have a conversation with Tim and begin to like him. One evening, Tim unexpectedly runs into Charlotte and decides to meet her. Charlotte introduces him to a friend, referring to her as her girlfriend. This confuses Tim, making him believe they are in a romantic relationship, though that isn't the case. The situation becomes awkward, and Tim regrets meeting Charlotte. He travels back in time to avoid meeting her entirely. However, as he's leaving, Charlotte spots him, and they start talking. Charlotte begins expressing regret for rejecting him earlier and tells him she likes him now. Charlotte invites Tim to dinner, and after spending some time together, she asks him to drop her off at home. At her house, she invites him inside, but Tim chooses not to go. On his way back, he realizes how much he truly loves Mary. That night, Tim goes home and proposes to Mary. Overjoyed, Mary accepts his proposal. Tim takes Mary to meet his family. She quickly bonds with his mother, and Catherine, Tim's sister, is also thrilled to meet her. During dinner, Tim announces that Mary is pregnant and that they plan to get married soon. The family celebrates the good news and gives their blessings. Tim and Mary begin planning their wedding, and on their big day, Mary decides to play a song that is special to both Tim and his father. Although the wedding day is marked by heavy rain and a storm, they proceed with joy and excitement, making it a day filled with love and happiness. Later, Tim and Mary welcome their daughter, Posey, into the world. Her arrival brings immense happiness to the entire family. Tim and Mary move into a house together, starting a new chapter in their lives. Tim feels so content with his life that he rarely feels the need to travel through time anymore. Then we see that on Posey's first birthday, everyone gathers at Tim's house to celebrate, except Catherine. Soon after, Catherine's boyfriend arrives and informs Tim that he and Catherine had a fight. In her anger, Catherine had consumed alcohol, driven off recklessly, and met with a serious accident. Hearing this, Tim and Mary rush to the hospital. Seeing Catherine lying in pain, Tim feels heartbroken. Unable to bear her suffering, he decides to travel back in time to prevent the accident. Tim goes to the past, takes control of the car himself, and saves Catherine just in time. Although Catherine was now safe, Tim and Mary were deeply concerned about her. She was emotionally shattered after her breakup, and her life seemed to be falling apart. Wanting to help her heal and move forward, Tim makes a bold decision. He decides to tell Catherine the truth about his ability to travel through time. Tim takes Catherine back to the New Year's Eve party where she first met the boy who caused her so much pain. At the party, Catherine sees her past self meeting the boy and immediately understands the consequences of that moment. Fueled by anger and determination, Catherine walks up to him and slaps him, breaking things off with him before anything could even begin. After successfully changing that moment in time, Tim and Catherine return to the present. Tim encourages her to stay with his friend Jay, believing it will help her rebuild her life. Feeling relieved and hopeful, Tim happily returns home, thinking that everything is now better. But when he arrives, Tim is shocked to discover that things are not the same anymore. His daughter Posey no longer exists. Instead, Tim sees a son he doesn't recognize, a child born in place of Posey. Heartbroken and confused, Tim talks to his father about what has happened. His father explains the painful truth. Because Tim traveled so far back in time, before Posey's conception, it changed the circumstances, leading to a different child being born. He warns Tim that if he continues to alter events from the distant past, his children will keep changing. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he makes the heartbreaking choice to go back in time and undo what he had changed. Tim lets Catherine's accident happen again, ensuring that his daughter Posey is brought back into his life. At the hospital, Tim and Mary encourage Catherine to forget the boy who caused her pain and to give Jay a chance to be in her life. Catherine agrees and begins moving forward with Jay, leaving her troubled past behind. Time passes, and Tim and Mary welcome another child into their family. But just as their lives seem perfect, Tim learns devastating news. His father, James, has cancer. Heartbroken, Tim tells his father that he will travel to the past and try to change this. But James gently explains that there are some things in life that even time travel cannot alter. James shares another life lesson with Tim, a secret that he believes will help him live a happier life. He advises Tim to live each day in 2 parts. In the first part, Tim should live normally, just like everyone else, facing the day as it comes without using time travel. Then, in the second part of the day, Tim should time travel back to relive the same day, this time appreciating its beauty and the small joys he may have missed the first time. Tim takes his father's advice and begins living each day in this way. However, the inevitable day arrives when Tim's father passes away. Before James's funeral, Tim travels back in time to meet his father one last time. James understands that Tim has come from the future and treasures their final moments together. Even after his father's death, Tim continues to visit James in the past whenever he feels the need to be with him. But one day, Mary expresses her desire to have another child. Tim realizes the weight of this decision. If they have another baby, it will alter the timeline, and he will no longer be able to revisit the time before that child's birth, which means he won't be able to meet his father in the past anymore. Caught between his love for Mary and his longing to keep his father in his life, Tim ultimately decides to honor Mary's wish. Before their new child is born, Tim travels back to see his father for the very last time. Tim shares with his father that this will be their final meeting. Understanding the significance of the moment, James takes Tim back in time to his childhood. Together, they relive a beautiful day from Tim's youth, filled with love, laughter, and unforgettable memories. After this final goodbye, Tim embraces the present and decides to stop time traveling altogether. He begins to find joy and meaning in the normal days of his life, cherishing every moment with his loved ones. Tim now understands the true essence of life, that everyone, in their own way, is traveling through time. He realizes that the key to a fulfilling life is to make the most of each day, to live it with purpose, and to treasure the people and moments that make life beautiful. So, friends, if you had the power to time travel, where would you go, and what would you do? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like this.